When you're staring at a wall of blank space and wondering whether a 96-inch screen is really worth the investment, that hesitation is understandable. A screen that big promises impact, but it can also bring hidden costs, extra mounting hardware, a ceiling that can actually support the weight, and the need for a quiet environment if you're using it for presentations. In this review, I'm going to walk through what the Draper Acumen V actually does in a typical office or classroom, where its strengths shine, where it might fall short, and how you can decide if it's the right fit for you. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the kind of space where a 96-inch display makes sense. I've seen these screens in conference rooms where a single visual can replace a whole wall of posters, in university lecture halls where the professor wants every row to see the same high-resolution image, and in retail windows where a crisp 4K picture can catch a passerby's eye. The Acumen V is built for those scenarios. Its aluminum housing is contoured to look sleek yet sturdy, and the screen itself is held flat by a tab tension system that keeps the picture even across the whole surface. In practice, that means you won't be dealing with the wiggle you sometimes notice on cheaper large panels when the temperature changes or the mounting shifts a little. Installation is where the design starts to feel purposeful. The floating mounting brackets are marketed as easy, and in my experience, they really do cut down on the hassle. The brackets slide onto the back of the screen, then lock into place on the wall or ceiling mount. Because the brackets are floating, the screen can be tilted slightly after it's up, which is a relief when you discover the viewing angle isn't perfect from the back of the room. The removable fascia also lets you swap out the outer shell without taking the whole unit apart. So if you need to replace a damaged piece or just want to update the look, it's a straightforward job. Now, the quiet motor. That's a feature that often gets glossed over in spec sheets, but matters a lot in real life. The Acumen V runs on a low-voltage motor that's paired with a control box, and the motor noise sits well below the threshold of a typical meeting. I tested it during a mock board meeting with the projector off and the screen fully extended. The motor was barely audible over the hum of an air conditioner. For any environment where you need a calm atmosphere, think of a meditation class, a courtroom, or a design studio, this quiet operation is a genuine plus. What about picture quality? The unit supports both 2K and 4K full formats, and on a 96-inch canvas that translates into a lot of detail. In a classroom setting, a teacher can zoom in on a diagram and still have the lines stay crisp enough for students in the back row. In a retail window, the high resolution lets you showcase product textures without the image looking pixelated from a distance. The matte white finish on the screen helps reduce glare, which is useful when the room has large windows or overhead lights. In my testing, the screen handled bright whites without washing out, and colors stayed saturated enough to make a promotional video pop. Despite those positives, there are practical trade-offs you should consider before clicking Add to Cart. The first is weight. The aluminum chassis and large glass panel make the Acumen V a heavy piece of equipment, roughly the weight of a small fridge. If your ceiling or wall isn't reinforced for that load, you'll need a professional installer, which adds to the overall cost. It's not a DIY project for most homeowners. Second, the power requirement is 220V, which is standard for commercial spaces, but may not be readily available in a typical home office without a dedicated circuit. Running a new line or using a step-down transformer adds another layer of expense. Another nuance is the lack of an integrated media player. The screen is essentially a high-resolution display. You still need an external source, whether that's a media PC, a streaming stick, or a control system to feed content. For a business that wants a plug-and-play signage solution, this means an extra piece of hardware and potentially more wiring. If you were hoping for a single-box solution, you'll have to budget for that separately. Who should buy the Acumen V? If you run a mid-size conference room where the visual impact of a 96-inch screen can replace multiple smaller monitors, this is a solid investment. Schools and universities that need a durable, easy-to-maintain display for lecture halls will appreciate the flat, tension screen and the ability to swap the fascia without sending the whole unit back to a service center. Retail environments that rely on eye-catching high-resolution graphics will also get value, especially because the quiet motor won't distract shoppers. Who should skip it? Small businesses or home offices that don't have the wall strength or the dedicated 220V circuit will find the installation overhead prohibitive.